Okay, let's dive right into this explainer and unpack part 3 of the Constitution of India. If you're a new learner approaching this topic, constitutional law can seem like just dense, impenetrable text. But today, we're going to translate all that heavy legal jargon into a clear, accessible toolkit. We're going to explore your fundamental rights, what I actually like to call the ultimate citizen shield. Right off the bat, looking at the state emblem of India, this perfectly represents the sheer, authoritative weight of what we're analyzing today. We're not just talking about gentle guidelines or, mere suggestions here. No way. We're talking about the absolute foundational bedrock of your rights as a citizen, guaranteed by literally the highest law of the land.
To make sense of it all, we'll break this down into 6 clear parts. First, the shield of citizens. Then, the right to equality, the right to freedom, freedom from exploitation, faith, culture, and education, and finally, the ultimate constitutional remedy.
So let's jump straight to Section 1, the Shield of Citizens, defining exactly who these rules apply to.
Okay, so Article 12. This is absolutely crucial because it defines what the state actually is. Think about it. Your fundamental rights aren't just a shield against your annoying neighbor, right? They protect you from the government itself. The state includes everyone holding public power, from the central parliament and state legislatures all the way down to your local city authorities. If any of these bodies try to overreach, boom, your shield goes up.
And then there's Article 13, which is totally fascinating. Think of it as an automatic constitutional force field. If the state tries to pass a law that takes away or even just shrinks your fundamental rights, well, that law is essentially dead on arrival. It is legally voided the exact moment it passes. Pretty powerful, right?
Moving right along to Section 2, the right to equality, covering Articles 14 through 18.
So these 5 articles work together to completely dismantle historic inequalities. It starts super broad. Article 14 guarantees equality before the law for absolutely everyone. Then, Article 15 strictly prohibits discrimination in public spaces, whether that's based on religion, race, caste, sex, or birthplace. Article 16 takes that a step further, guaranteeing equal opportunity in public employment. Then we get to Article 17, which powers through to completely abolish the practice of untouchability in any form whatsoever. And finally, Article 18 abolishes state titles, basically preventing any kind of artificial aristocracy. It's just a totally comprehensive approach to making sure every citizen starts on a level playing field.
Next up, Section 3, the right to freedom, found in Articles 19 through 22.
Now, Article 19 is probably the one you use the most. It contains 6 everyday freedoms we constantly rely on. When you voice an opinion online, gather for a peaceful protest, form a union, travel from Delhi to Chennai, move to a brand new state for a job, or simply choose what career you want to pursue, you are actively exercising Article 19. It literally protects the dynamic day-to-day life of every single citizen.
Then we hit Article 21, and wow, this is the absolute core of personal liberty. It's just one sentence, but it is incredibly profound. It guarantees that the state cannot arbitrarily take your life or your freedom. It can only be done through a proper, firmly established legal procedure. This right here, this is your ultimate safety net against state tyranny.
And right next to that profound right to life is an addition that's honestly just as essential. Article 21A mandates that the state must provide free and compulsory education specifically to children between the ages of 6 and 14. Because let's face it, true liberty and freedom are practically impossible without the solid foundation of a basic education.
Okay, Section 4, freedom from exploitation, which covers Articles 23 and 24.
Notice the 2 distinct layers of protection we have here. Article 23 is this sweeping absolute ban on human trafficking and begar, which basically means forced, uncompensated labor. Then Article 24 creates a highly specific boundary. It protects young children below the age of 14 from being employed in dangerous environments, like factories or mines. Essentially, the Constitution flat out refuses to allow economic desperation to be weaponized against citizens.
Moving on to Section 5, faith, culture, and education, which spans Articles 25 to 30. So Articles 25 to 28 perform this really brilliant balancing act between individual religious freedom and the state's secular neutrality. You personally have the freedom of conscience to practice and spread your faith, and religious groups can naturally manage their own affairs. But, and this is a big but, the state itself remains totally neutral. It won't tax you to promote a specific religion, and it definitely won't force religious instruction on you in state-funded schools. Furthermore, The Constitution recognizes that a true democracy isn't just about majority rule. It's also about fiercely protecting minority identities. So Articles 29 and 30 step in to ensure that linguistic and religious minority groups have the concrete right to preserve their unique language, script, and culture. And they do this primarily by giving them the explicit right to establish and run their very own educational institutions.
All right, Section 6, the ultimate constitutional remedy, found in Article 32.
Now this leads to the most important question you can ask as a new learner. We've talked about all these amazing protections: equality, freedom, life, religion. But hey, a shield is completely useless if you can't actually pick it up and defend yourself when you're attacked, right? So what do you actually do if the state oversteps?
Well, that is exactly where Article 32 comes in. It gives you the sword to protect your shield. It literally allows any citizen to go straight to the Supreme Court of India. The court can then issue these powerful legal commands known as writs. So whether it's habeas corpus to immediately stop an unlawful detention, or mandamus to force an official to do their duty, these orders keep authorities in check. Article 32 is literally the engine that enforces the entire Constitution.
Now, quick caveat. It's also vital to note that this shield isn't 100% absolute in every single scenario. Article 33 explicitly says that Parliament has the power to modify these fundamental rights for specific groups, like the armed forces or intelligence agencies. Why? Well, to ensure they can properly discharge their duties and maintain the strict discipline required for national security. Makes sense, right? So, as we wrap up this explainer, it's so clear that Part 3 isn't just some dry historical text you have to memorize for a test. The phrase Satyameva Jayate, truth alone triumphs, reminds us that these fundamental rights are the living, breathing armor of democracy. They're designed to ensure justice, liberty, and human dignity for all of us, every single day.
I want to leave you with this final thought. Think about your everyday routine, your speech on social media, your freedom to walk around your city, the way you practice your faith, the job you chose to take. Which of these constitutional protections do you rely on the most, maybe without even realizing it? Keep that question in the back of your mind, and I promise you'll never look at Part 3 of the Constitution the same way again.